My guest today is Joe Bonsall, a 42-year member of the iconic and legendary supergroup, the Oak Ridge Boys. They have sold over 41 million units worldwide and are all things America, apple pie, baseball, and country music. Well, in addition to their awards and accolades in the country music field, the Oaks have garnered 5 Grammy Awards, 9 GMA Dove Awards, and 2 American Music Awards. The group, Joe Bonsall, Dwayne Allen, William Lee Golden, and Richard Sterban, the members of the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Grand Ole Opry, are known worldwide as one of the recording history's most extraordinary musical successes. They have charted single after single and album after album, celebrating 2 double platinum albums and more than 30 top 10 hits. And we are here to talk about their new album, Front Porch Singing. So let's welcome the ageless and timeless and forever the legendary tenor that he is, Joe Bonsall of the Oak Ridge Boys. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Well, thank you, Doctor. It's good to talk to you. When you were saying the ageless and you said forever, I thought you were going to say forensic.
well, you know what? That kind of works into my first question, actually, for you, because I know that 2020 was a year that we will all never forget and would like to forget. But was this the first time in decades that you and the boys were not touring?
Oh, yes. A lifetime. I can't remember hardly ever not being on the road. And I guess it was last March 14th. We did a big show in South Carolina in Myrtle Beach. And man, it was a big theater, packed out, about 3,000 people. We rocked the place for about 2 hours. Got in our bus and ate sushi and listened to loud music, partied all the way home to Nashville, not realizing that when that bus parked, it was going to stay parked for at least 5 months. And It was quite the revelation. The pandemic kind of took over and everything started shutting down. And, you know, in the music industry, I mean, it didn't matter if you were the first chair violinist at the symphony or if you were singing hip hop, rock, country, or if you were a star on Broadway, you got shut down. And everybody in your circumference got shut down. And everybody that worked for you, everybody in the business, theaters, arenas, people that worked at all those places, everybody went down. So it's been a rough time.
Well, how did all of you receive the news that everything was going to get canceled and you had no clue when you were going to come back?
Well, we noticed that the pandemic was kind of taking over in the middle of March and that things were happening and shutdowns were starting to happen. But things we saw is that all these had booked in April and May and June were going away. And then the first thing I remember noticing was that the big South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas canceled. And then right after that, the big festivals in Coachella, California canceled. And then our dates started to go away. And our whole summer was filled with county fairs, state fairs, 2 or 3 major country festivals. And boom, they all went away. So I think we knew right away that we're in for a rough time here. And we better figure out how we're going to get us all through it. And I think we've done a good job of it. And here we are the next year, and it's still happening. We lost most of our dates in April and May again, and some in June.
Wow.
But from July on, we are booked solid, and so far nothing's moved. So I'm really hoping that this summer we can get back to work.
So what did you do during your time of actually finally being at home for basically a year?
I pet my cat. I do. You said you followed me on Twitter.
So yeah.
Barney. Well, we have 4 cats actually. And of course I've gotten very much closer to all my family during this time home. It's been fun being with my wife. I got to tell you, I asked her the other day even, I said, Mary, I said, you know, I've been home here more than I ever have been before. You tired of me yet? She says, I haven't been tired of you at all.
Oh.
So that's kind of a nice thing. And I've got this one cat, Barney, man. We rescued him, and I don't know, he's been my buddy and my friend. Every night he's kind of there with me, and I think he's more than just a cat, but he really is just a cat. But he seems to know my soul. Does that sound weird?
Yeah. No, I'm actually a cat person, but we have 2 dogs here at home, and you know, everybody loves dogs, but you know, there's always something about cats that only cat people will know and cat people can explain. So no, I feel you, brother. I know what you're talking about.
You know what's funny about cat people? That is really funny. People can have, and we've had as many as 9 cats. People can have a cat or multiple cats, and they know all about cats, and they can walk down the street and see a cat, and it's like, oh, a kitty, like they never seen a cat before.
That's right.
That's what cat people are like.
That's
So I guess I
exactly
turned into
that.
a cat guy all these years, and I do love my cats. I've enjoyed being home. I got to tell you, but I heard Dwayne Allen say this the other day, and I think it's so true. He said, as much as I've enjoyed being home, I mean, we all knew that someday that was going to happen anyway. We're old guys now, you know. Like I said to my wife once over the summer, "Am I retired?" She went, "You might be." But Dwayne Allen said, "I still have this hole in my heart, though. And the hole in my heart can only be filled by going out there on that stage and singing, showing love to the people, and having that love come back to me." And I thought, yeah, Dwayne, man, that's exactly how I feel. And I think it's exactly how all the Oak Ridge boys feel. And we have done a couple of shows here of late. And man, it feels good to be singing. And last August, right in the middle of the pandemic, we decided to go in the studio, record this new Front Porch Singing album. And we had hardly even seen each other except for, like I say, some meetings. But to get back in that studio, even in a socially distanced atmosphere where it was just us, our young producer, Dave Cobb, a percussionist, and a bass player. And we just got together and made some magic. And it just felt so good to run down there to that studio every single day, just to see everybody, to make new music, to be creative and get those juices flowing. I mean, it just felt good.
Well, let's talk about the new album, because I'm going to step back in time here in a bit, but let's talk about that new album. What was the inspiration behind it? And again, here you are recording an album during this pandemic. So was the feeling a little different?
Well, it felt different, yes, because, you know, normally when the Oak Ridge boys record, we've got family and friends and everybody comes in, but it was just us. One engineer, our producer, like I say, 2 musicians, the 4 of us. And the whole idea behind this album was Front Porch Singing. That's the title. And our young producer said, man, I picture the 4 Oak Ridge boys on the porch, rocking in a rocking chair, singing old gospel, old country, new country, and just doing some songs that are really meaningful. And we managed to put that together, and we accomplished it. And I don't know, I wrote the backliner notes, and I wrote in those notes that we didn't really plan it, but we may have inadvertently recorded a great album for this time we're living in. Songs like Love, Light, and Healing, songs like Life is Beautiful, songs like The Old Ways. We just came up with this stuff that I think people are going to find meaningful. And in fact, last Saturday night we did the Opry, and we broke out Love, Light, and Healing on the stage of the Opry, and it was one of the first times we sang it, actually. And we got a standing ovation afterwards, and that really kind of blew our minds. I knew the song was meaningful, and I knew folks would enjoy it, but man, I didn't expect them to respond like they did. And I think it just shows that people are we're needing a message like that. We're needing songs like that. And I think in this day and age, I think this album is going to be meaningful. I really do.
Well, you know, I believe that we are living in that time where there's people like you that bring forth hope, inspiration, motivation, encouragement. You know, it's kind of like I had interviewed Johnny Lee, and he has that new song out, Everything's Going to Be All Right. And in a way,
Yes.
we got to believe that. And, you know, I cannot wait for your album to come out, because I think, like you said, this is the perfect time. You know, it's amazing how sometimes I think the Lord just kind of works songs into an
Yes.
album at the right time, and you feel that way about this one.
Oh, I really do. In fact, Lightning Rod Records, right after the Opry the other night, they released it. They released Love, Light, and Healing, the single, the song. The album drops June 11th. You know, albums don't release anymore; they drop. So we're dropping June 11th. But the new song is available right now wherever you get music. You can go get Love, Light, and Healing from the Oak Ridge Boys, the first song released from Front Porch Singing. And like I say, I think it's going to be a blessing. I really do.
Well,
There's God in it.
oh, amen to that. Amen to that. And you know, let's step back in time, because I remember I saw you guys for the very first time in 1981 during the Fancy Free tour. You toured through Houston. You performed at the Summit. The place is sold out. If I even remember correctly, maybe T.G. Shepherd was actually the opening act. And
Think so?
Elvira was this massive hit all across America, not just on the country chart, but it actually crossed over. And now you're celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. Was this song itself a huge shock to all of you that not only was it a hit on country, but it actually crossed over into the pop chart?
Everything Elvira has ever done has been a big shock to me. You know, the old question, how big can a song get? Well, let me tell you how big a song can get. When you've got everybody of every age group all across America singing Papa Mau Mau with you, that is big. And one of the cool things about that song back then was the fact that people knew it was us singing it. I mean, that was part of the success because of Johnny Carson. I go, hey man, you know, it never, thank God it hasn't. But you go back to 1981, Doctor. I'll tell you what, man, 81, the compact disc was still a year away.
Oh,
the internet
wow.
was in 86. Nobody had a personal computer unless they had one of them old VIC 64 Commodores, because Apple computers didn't come out till 84. So, you know, the whole nation, man, they were either singing Betty Davis Eyes, or they were singing about Rick Springfield's Jesse's Girl, or they were singing Kool and the Gang, Celebrate Good Times Come On, or they were singing with the Oak Ridge Boys, and most were singing with us. It was an amazing year. And that tour you saw was a huge, gigantic tour. And like I've been thinking a bunch lately, you know, we're in the Country Music Hall of Fame, not because of Elvira. We're in the Hall of Fame because of the incredible body of work and influence we've had in our business over all of these decades. But Elvira is still the big Oak Ridge Boy song. No matter what we released over the years, I don't care how many chart records we've had, how many gold albums are hanging on my wall, and thankfully there's a lot of them. It's still Elvira, man. Even now, we go on stage, and when I say, let's sing Elvira, the audience stands up, man, like it's the Hallelujah chorus.
What? They do, because I remember in 2019, not but 6 miles down the road, you guys came in and performed at Do-Si Do's in the Woodlands, Texas. And, you know, my wife and I, my daughter was there, my in-laws were there to see you guys, and wow, y'all put on an amazing show. And like you said, when y'all start singing Elvira, the whole place just goes wild and everybody sings along with you.
So you were there at that show. Did you see us all squashed in on that little stage?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
I elbowed my steel player right in the face once.
Well, you know, that song, or I should say, actually my favorite Oak song is Fancy Free. Yeah. But Elvira seemed to be the song that really carried the next album, Bobby Sue, and people, to me, were still singing Bobby Sue just with as much gusto as they were singing Elvira.
Yeah, let's face it, Bobby Sue wasn't Elvira, but it still did hit really, really big, and it sold a lot of albums, and it got a lot of pop airplay as well. And to this day, I've tried to close the show many different ways. I've even tried putting Elvira like up in the middle of the show somewhere, you know. I remember when it was the 30th year of Elvira, I put it up in the middle of the show. That didn't work. That 1-2 punch of Elvira, Bobby Sue, I challenge anybody to have as good a 1-2 punch at the end of a show than Elvira into Bobby Sue. I mean, it just works. So I don't change it anymore, man. You can rest assured that the set list may be different every show. Different songs maybe you didn't hear the night before, you'll hear the next night. But Elvira, Bobby Sue's going to close that son of a gun. It's going to do it.
No, I completely believe that. And I think the whole crowd, I think all the fans, everybody wants to sing Richard Sturban's parts in both those songs. But, you know, it's just something that just gets everybody so excited. Everybody is happy about it. And you guys have had a stellar career. So I had to go back in time and to pull out a little bit of history on you guys, because one of the things that I think I actually forgot was that in 1977, Paul Simon tapped you guys to sing backup on his hit Slip Sliding in a Way. I literally had to go back to listen to that song, and there you guys were singing backup.
I'll tell you, it was a great year for us. We actually recorded it in 76. He released it in 77. And, ironically, in 77, our first country hit was Y'all Come Back Saloon. But
Wow.
up until that point, we were like dying on Columbia Records before our manager, Jim Halsey, got us off Columbia and over to MCA. Okay. And then Saloon came out and the rest is history. But during that time, we won a gospel Grammy. I think it was for Where the Soul of Man Never Dies. We won a gospel Grammy. So we're in LA at the Grammy Awards. Paul Simon was hosting the Grammys. And, he had just done Loves Me Like a Rock, and so, man, we got to talking to Paul Simon, and he knew us well. He was talk about a music historian, Paul Simon. My God, he's an encyclopedia. And he knew us and what we were about and all about our gospel days. And so we said, well, Paul, we need some help, man. We need a hit really bad. And maybe you could write us one. And I remember Paul Simon saying, well, I got to be honest, guys. When I write a song, I'm selfish. I've got to sing it. I never give away a song I wrote. But let me think about it. So we get home, and within a couple of weeks after the Grammys, we get a phone call from Paul Simon. I want you guys to come up here to New York City and put some backup vocals on a rock group called the Roche Sisters. They're still around. Well, we go to New York. Paul flies us up there first class. Only the second time we'd ever flown first class. Stayed at the Americana Hotel in these nice suites. Went to the legendary A&R studios with Phil Ramone producing and sang on the Roche Sisters records. It was fun working with Paul. We went home. A couple weeks later, he calls us again. Guys, can you come up to New York City? I think I've got a song for us to sing. Well, the second trip up to New York City, first class, Americana Hotel, A&R Studios, Phil Ramone. And here's Paul with his big 12-string guitar and 4 stools. He wants us to sit on these stools and just listen to this song, and let's figure out where to put our harmonies. And it was Slip Sliding Away. And we recorded that song with him up there that day, and it became a monster hit. In fact, we called it our first gold album because he sent us a gold album for Paul Simon's greatest hits. And Slip Sliding Away was like the added new song to the hits compilation. So, I mean, we have a Paul Simon gold album, although we had not one thing to do with Julio down by the schoolyard.
Well, back in the early 70s, I was reading a story about you guys and Johnny Cash. So what did it mean to you and the boys when Johnny Cash himself encouraged you to keep at it? And I think this must have been 1972, 73, and encouraged you not to break up, but keep going and keep pushing.
It was actually 73 into 74 because I joined the Oaks in October of 73. And one of the first things we did was do some dates with Johnny Cash. I couldn't believe it. And then in 74, that summer, we were working at the Hilton Hotel with John. And we all had a meeting in the Star Suite upstairs. Johnny called us to tell us basically how good we were. He said, to be sitting here in the middle of you guys, I feel magic. And if you guys ever give up on yourselves, nobody else will feel the magic that I feel just being around the Oak Ridge Boys. So you've got to stick it out. And so we went out of there with our heads held high, man. We're going to make it because Johnny Cash said we're going to make it, And a couple years later, we won Vocal Group of the Year at the Country Music Association Awards. Johnny was hosting. And I think it's on YouTube, but you can almost see when we're announced as the winners of Vocal Group of the Year, instead of running to the podium to get our award, we all ran to John.
Oh, wow.
We did.
Wow.
We hugged a group hug, and Johnny went, I told you. Yeah, man. What? Johnny Cash meant the world.
Are there any performers or singers that you guys have always wanted to sing with and maybe haven't had that opportunity yet? Who would that be?
I don't really know because we've sung with so many. I mean, we've recorded with Johnny. We've recorded with Paul Simon, George Jones, Brenda Lee, Merle Haggard. I mean, we've sung with almost everybody. And Tammy, gosh, I don't know. I think some of these young kids today, like an Eric Church or somebody, if they found a place for us on one of their songs, it would be fun to sing with an Eric Church or even a Brad Paisley or a Miranda Lambert. I mean, Miranda's a sweetheart. She's a sister. So is Carrie Underwood. And we know them well, but I don't know. We just sang a song with the young kid Jimmy Allen. And it's called When This Is Over. And man, what a song that is. We went down there, recorded it with him. And So, we've done a few things with some of the new kids like Jimmy Allen, but it'd be fun to do some more, I guess. The next thing we've got up on our schedule is I don't know if you know Darren and Brooke Aldridge, bluegrass kids. And in fact, Brooke Aldridge has been voted the International Bluegrass Music Association Female Vocalist of the Year for like 3 years. We're going to go record a song with them. And so we're going to go a little bluegrass with you. I'm bringing my banjo, see what we can do.
Hey, there you go. There you go. So I know you have a busy schedule today. So let me ask you this. What are the chances for the Phillies this year?
Man, I don't know. It's really kind of funny. Last year, believe it or not, I kind of got away from sports.
Yeah.
All of that stuff that was going on politically spilled over into sports, and it just kind of soured me on a lot of stuff. And so I didn't follow them quite like I have done my whole life last year, like I probably will this year. I've watched a few spring training games. I think the Phillies still need some pitching. I'm a little iffy on the pitching, but then every team says that, right?
Yeah.
We've got a lineup. It looks like to me, if they're all hitting, that we can score a lot of runs. But our bullpen, I still think, is not quite there, and and the starting pitching, I just don't know. I watched Wheeler get shellacked in spring training. I watched him pitch really good. I watched Nola get shellacked, and I watched him do pretty good. So it's spring training. We'll see what happens when the lights come on this week, a couple days, tomorrow.
No, that's it. That's it. I felt the same way. I just could not get completely into sports. I do like watching baseball. I do live in Houston, so
there you go.
We have the Astros, and we have a pitching problem now, and so we're going to see what happens there. But yeah, I'm slowly getting back because I used to never miss a game to watch them.
Me neither.
And
Me neither.
yeah. Now I know that you're a Phillies fan, and correct me. And Dwayne's in the baseball too, right?
Oh yeah, Dwayne loves his Texas Rangers, but he really loves the Boston Red Sox for whatever reason I can never figure out. But he loves the Red Sox. And there you go.
Tell Dwayne, I got his back. I got his back.
Well, 2 years ago, just 2 years ago, we went up to Fenway Park, and I'd never been to Fenway. And we sang the national anthem at Fenway Park and sat in the stands and watched just an incredible game between the Orioles and the Red Sox in Fenway. And if you've never sat in Fenway Park and watched a ball game, oh my God. Yeah, isn't that something?
Oh. Let me tell you.
Every second. I was like a little kid when I would go to Connie Mack Stadium with my father in Philadelphia and watch the old Phillies play at Shibe Park, Connie Mack Stadium. It was the same feeling. I didn't want it to end. I couldn't eat enough hot dogs. I couldn't get enough of that field. And the fact that we sang the anthem down there on that field was just mind-boggling to me. And the organist, the famous Fenway organist, played Elvira at the 7th inning stretch.
Oh, that is awesome, because I remember my son and I went to Game 5 when the Red Sox played the Rays. We were up a little high behind home plate. It was 40 degrees, and here's the Red Sox losing. I think it was 7-0. It's a 7th inning, and they come back and score all the runs to win it at the last inning, and the place just went crazy. But you're right, just to sit in Fenway. I mean, I've been to Wrigley and I've been to Fenway, and it's just they're just so iconic to sit there and just soak it all in.
Well, see, that's what I love about baseball. Baseball is timeless. Sitting in Fenway Park, way up the third baseline, watching that game like we did, was no different than maybe years ago if you were sitting there and Ted Williams was at his last at bat and hit one over the monster. I mean, it's timeless. Mary, I have a little, this is off to the side of that, but Mary and I, we have a farm up in Macon County. It's about 350 acres on the Tennessee-Kentucky line. That has been my fortress of solitude through this pandemic. Because when I go up there, we've owned it since 1998. A lot of pastures, a lot of woods, a couple of barns, a couple of paddocks, a lot of pasture. And to sit on that front porch of that cabin, which is 4 miles from the nearest human being, which would be really bad for having a heart attack. for just being by yourself and picking a little banjo on the porch for the coyotes and looking out at that field. Time goes nowhere.
Yeah.
It's timeless. And when you bow your head and you pray out there, you feel like you're reaching. You feel like he's there.
Yeah.
You feel like you can hear him and he can hear you, because everything's so loud in this day and age, man. You've got to find a place to be quiet. And I'm a loudmouth, listen to me. But man, finding that place where you can be quiet, sitting by a creek, sitting in a John Deere Gator in a field up behind the barn and watching the sun go down and thanking God for his blessings on your life. We just need to be doing a lot of things like that in this day and age, folks. We just need it. We just have to be doing it.
Yeah.
We need to be doing it closer to God and away from the noise and the clutter, because there sure is a ton of it.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think we need to learn to set aside the smartphone. You know, I've read where experts have said it takes 72 hours away from your smartphone, away from all the tech, the social media, just to get the brain back to where it needs to be. And we need to find that solitude. You know, we need to learn to be still and know that he is God and take time to listen for his voice, because like you said, you know, we can talk all day long, but sometimes we just need to be quiet and allow him to speak back to us.
Peace be still.
Oh, amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Well, I can tell you what, I want to thank you for just letting me have the honor to talk with you today, to talk about the brand new album, ladies and gentlemen, the Oak Ridge Boys, Front Porch Singing, coming out June 11th. Joe, what's the name of the single that you just released, or I should say dropped already?
We just dropped Love, Light, and Healing.
Love, Light, and Healing.
Everywhere. Wherever you download your music, you can find Love, Light, and Healing right now. And I think it'll be a blessing to your life. And Dr. Bond, thank you, sir, for having me on. You're a positive life force yourself. I can feel it even through this iPad, which I'm struggling to hold on my knee. I hope it comes out without a whole lot of shaking. It
will be fine. I can tell you that. I will make you look great when we go into post-production, Joe. And seriously, you've created a memory for me, because I remember seeing you guys for years and years and years. My in-laws are the biggest Oak Ridge Boy fans ever. And I even texted my father-in-law yesterday. I said, hey, is there anything that you want me to ask Joe? And it was funny because he had actually brought up Johnny Cash, and he remembers the days when you guys went from gospel music and then made that decision to cross over into country. And there was a little bit of hoopla about all of that back then. But,
yeah, there was.
But, you know, God's blessed every step you guys have made. And thank you for bringing us the most amazing songs and the most amazing memories. And I know for a fact it's going to continue on for many years to come.
Well, certainly hope so, Doctor. And I'll tell you, we're still just an old gospel quartet singing country songs with a rock and roll attitude.
I love it. I love it.
It never changes.
That's it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Joe Bonsall of the Oak Ridge Boys. Remember, when you download the new song, just don't download it to hear it. Download it to buy it. Because I believe in supporting all of our artists and everybody behind those artists, because that's how music is made. It's not done for free. So go ahead and support your favorite artists. And in this time, support the Oak Ridge Boys and that whole group behind them as well. So thank you, Joe Bonsall, for being with us today on the LCW Music Edition, and we'll see you next time. Remember to catch every episode of the LCW Music Edition. Just hit subscribe on iTunes or Spotify. And if I can ask you a favor, please take 30 seconds and rate the show on iTunes. Thank you for doing that for me, as we want to bring you the best show possible. Just look up LCW Music Edition on any streaming service. So thank you for watching today's episode. This has been a LCW Music Edition, the place that brings you the legends of music, today's current artists, and the most talented rising stars. See you next time.